Alright guys, gals, and everything in between, this review is going to be a little bit different of a Doctor Who review of mine. As you guys know, I have a tendency to review every week's episode of Doctor Who, and this week's episode is no exception. I missed last week because I was really feeling under the weather. It was just, yeah, it wasn't fun. But either way, I'm here to review this week's episode, and as you can tell from my enthusiasm, it's a bit of a mixed bag for me. Alright, the episode Oxygen. The Doctor, Bill, and Nardole, they go into the future and they go to this space station where oxygen is bartered for. It is commerce. And we use it, and we need it, obviously. And there's these people that the suits are programmed wrong and glitching, and they're almost turning into undead, but not really. It's more malfunctioning suits, and that is their prerogative. So, as you guys are probably assuming, hey Scott, that episode sounds fantastic. In fact, the episode was fantastic. Ooh, but there must be something. Yes, there is something that is bothering me about the episode, and it just keeps burning in my heart and my soul, and it's the fact that they took a wonderful premise, a very intense survival thriller in space, and they took it and just, you pandered it, and you beat it with an SJW, capitalism is evil. Oh. Alright. I try to not get political on my movie review channel, but I want to point out, if you, the BBC, are going to go as far as to make a political episode and sit there and bash capitalism, at least know what you're bashing, which they clearly didn't, because they mislabeled capitalism to begin with. They were talking about things like corporatism, or anarcho-capitalism, or things like that. Anarcho-capitalism is more of a far radical version where it's like, you know what, if they say that this is the bottom line kind of thing, there is no sort of checks and balances, it's just whatever this one person kind of says goes, etc., etc., etc. You know, there's more details than that, but I don't want to give you a political science lecture. And then there is the corporatism, which the corporatism is the thing that a lot of people mix up with capitalism. Be like, oh yeah, well you know what, my insuccess or other people's insuccess, it is clearly capitalism's fault. No, that is not how capitalism works. And so, corporatism is about a lot of the corporate, like, shady backdrop. That has nothing to do with capitalism. Seriously, read an economics textbook and a political science textbook, and it's clear that the writers at the BBC who worked on this had no clue, because Moffat is an SJW who's a little butthurt right now and wants to throw it up on screen. So, okay, rant over. Aside from the stupid amount of references. I mean, we're talking like, oh right, well they're bartering for oxygen. Oh man, how stupid is that? Well, it would be like if people liked capitalism. It was that blatantly obvious in the episode. But again, rant over. Aside from that stupidity, the episode was excellent. It was intense. The idea that they show up there and they're looking around and they're slowly uncovering. I love episodes that they do that. They're slowly figuring out all of the things that are going wrong in this future scenario. That was all cool. So we have Peter Capaldi sitting there trying to uncover all the evidence. Bill is getting slowly more frightened. And Nardole is, I mean, the Doctor's irritated with Nardole and doesn't want him around. Bill's not fully on board with Nardole. I like the fact that nobody likes Nardole, and I think that that was very effective that they're playing that to their advantage. So with this, Doctor Who is delving more into some very mature writing in terms of death and acceptance of death in this season, that it's a very, very powerful motif. And so as they're running through these corridors, as these zombie-like people in their space outfits, they're not really zombies, they're just dead corpses in a spacesuit. I thought it was really clever, is spoiler alert, to the way the Doctor defeats them is he reprograms the suit to say it would be more expensive to kill them than it is. But again, that goes back to the corporatism and all of that. But again, it was a very clever ending, and it made him think. I like that they smashed the sonic screwdriver, so it made them think about that. The Doctor going blind was a very powerful tool of storytelling, because you don't normally see the Doctor as vulnerable as he was in this episode. Everybody was a lot more vulnerable, and they teetered around with tensions. Like, you weren't sure if Bill was going to make it out, because you would actually see Bill starting to suffocate as her suit was malfunctioning, and the Doctor's freaking out, realizing, oh, she could die right here. That was all excellent. That was the tension we needed in Doctor Who to come back. It was very smart writing, and then him trying to explain to the people he's trying to save them. He's trying to do all these things, and even though he doesn't like necessarily telling them a plan, he's got one that he's working on in his head. Everything, this episode just kept moving fast, and that was its strength, is that before you had time to sit there and go, oh wait, what about this? Boom, he's already over here doing his own thing. So I really, really enjoyed this episode, aside from their obvious pandering to the leftist crowd, which was a bit too obvious because, again, people of all shapes and sizes watch Doctor Who, but they were making it very, very obvious. That was great. I absolutely loved the episode. I'm not going into that much detail, because there's not really that much detail to give right now, honestly, because it was just sort of another Creature of the Week episode, but it was an excellent one. It was something that could honestly be its own standalone movie. When that air is starting to vacuum out of the room and the Doctor figures it out with Bill, that was so intense when she's like, wait a minute, if it says it's sucking all the air out, and that's where the TARDIS is with the Air Force field, it's not going to hold. And so all of a sudden they're sucked into like this vacuum, which is where half the lines from the trailer, by the way, were in this episode. They did an excellent job writing some powerful monologues of like, this is the moment you've been waiting for since the day you were born. That kind of stuff was what was in this episode. It felt very big, even though the scale was rather contained, because it ultimately was on one space station. I would love to see more of this society that they have built, provided they toned back some of their agenda. That would make this awesome. I am very curious. The suits were great. They looked straight out of Half-Life. Everything about this episode in terms of that was great. Season 10 is definitely Capaldi's best season, I think. So I'm really happy. We don't really tease what's going on with the vault, but instead we find out that the Doctor is now blind. He's, from what we can tell, permanently blind. I heard some speculation that they believe that this means the Doctor's going to use his regeneration energy that you see in the trailer to bring his eyesight back. I don't think that's the case, because from what we can tell from the previews and piece together, some of the stuff where he's running around and grabbing stuff, it all meshes with this whole like 2 or 3 episode arc that's about to come up, where he's clearly seeing just fine. So I'm pretty sure that that's not the case. We're going to have his vision back without the regeneration energy. I have my own speculations for his regeneration, but I will save that for another video. Alright guys, gals, and everything in between, what did you think of this latest Doctor Who video, Oxygen? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Got plenty more videos coming to ya. Love you guys.